Yes, I have charged my camcorder. I'm very tired and my apartment's very hot, so I not feel so well. I'm sleepy. I feel sleepy and very hot. So, but now it's 10. I need to finish reading this. I have to adjust my camcorder. No, my apartment is very hot every summer. It's like 30 degrees every day. That makes me very sleepy and thirsty. So I don't know if I can do this because that's I'm always so sleepy and feeling tired, and it's 30 degrees. So I don't know if I can read all this.
£6,000 to £35,000 weight class. 21st century, edit. The U-2 remains in frontline service more than 60 years after its first flight, with the current U-2 beginning service in 1980. This is due primarily to its ability to change surveillance objectives on short notice, something that surveillance satellites cannot do. In the mid-1990s, it was converted from the U-2R to the U-2S, receiving the GEF 118 turbofan engine. The U-2 outlasted its Mach 3 replacement, the SR-71, which was retired in 1998. A classified budget document approved by the Pentagon on the 23rd of December, 2005 called for the U-2's termination no earlier than 2012, with some aircraft being retired by 2007. In January 2006, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld announced the U-2's pending retirement as a cost-cutting measure during a larger reorganization and redefinition of the USAF's mission. Rumsfeld said that this would not impair the USAF's ability to gather intelligence, which would be done by satellites and a growing supply of unmanned RQ-4 Global Hawk reconnaissance aircraft. U-2S with the senior span /spur communications suite at El Dafra Air Base, United Arab Emirates, CA. 2017. In 2009, the USAF stated that it planned to extend the U-2 retirement from 2012 until 2014 or later to allow more time to field the RQ-4. Upgrades late in the war in Afghanistan gave the U-2 greater reconnaissance and threat detection capability. By early 2010, U-2S from the 99th Expeditionary Reconnaissance Squadron had flown over 200 missions in support of Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, as well as Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa. A U-2 was stationed in Cyprus in March 2011 to help in the enforcement of the no-fly zone over Libya, and a U-2 stationed at Assam Air Base in South Korea was used to provide imagery of the Japanese nuclear reactor damaged by the 11th of March 2011 earthquake and tsunami. In March 2011, it was projected that the fleet of 32 U-2s would be operated until 2015. In 2014, Lockheed Martin determined that the U-2S fleet had used only 1/5 of its design service life and was one of the youngest fleets within the USAF. In 2011, the USAF intended to replace the U-2 with the RQ-4 before fiscal year 2015. Proposed legislation required any replacement to have lower operating costs. In January 2012, the USAF reportedly planned to end the RQ-4 Block 30 program and extend the U-2's service life until 2023. The RQ-4 Block 30 was kept in service under political pressure despite USAF objections, stating that the U-2 cost $2,380 per flight hour compared to the RQ-4's $6,710 as of early 2014. Critics have pointed out that the RQ-4's cameras and sensors are less capable, and lack all-weather operating capability. However, some of the U-2's sensors may be installed on the RQ-4. The RQ-4 Block 30's capabilities were planned to match the U-2's by FY 2016. The replacement effort is motivated by decreases in the RQ-4's cost per flying hour. The U-2's retirement was calculated to save $2.2 billion. $1.77 billion will have to be spent over 10 years to enhance the RQ-4, including $500 million on a universal payload adapter to attach one U-2 sensor onto the RQ-4. USAF officials fear that retiring the U-2 amid RQ-4 upgrades will create a capability gap in the House Armed Services Committee's markup of the FY 2015 budget. Language was included prohibiting the use of funds to retire or store the U-2. It also requested a report outlining the transition capabilities from the U-2 to the RQ-4 Block 30 in light of capability gap concerns. In late 2014, Lockheed Martin proposed an unmanned U-2 version with greater payload capability, but the concept did not gain traction with the USAF. In early 2015, the USAF was directed to restart modest funding for the U-2 for operations and research, development, and procurement through to FY 2018. The former head of the USAF Air Combat Command, General Mike Hostage, helped extend the U-2s to ensure commanders receive sufficient intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance (ISR) coverage, stating it will take 8 years before the RQ-4 Global Hawk fleet can support 90% of the coverage of the U-2 fleet. In 2015, the RQ-4 was planned to replace the U-2 by 2019. The Lockheed states the U-2 can remain viable until 2050. As of January 2018, the U.S. Air Force budget for 2018 had indefinitely postponed the retirement of the U-2. In February 2020, the U.S. Air Force submitted budget documents with confusing language suggesting that it could begin retiring U-2s in 2025 but clarified afterwards that no retirement is planned. On the 20th of September 2016, a Tu-2S trainer crashed upon takeoff from Beale Air Force Base, killing one pilot and injuring the other. In early August 2018, NASA flew 2 missions using infrared sensors to map the Mendocino Complex fire. The flights used the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer, MODIS, and Advanced Spaceborne Thermal Emission and Reflection Radiometer, ASTA, satellite instruments. In 2020, the U-2 made history as the first military aircraft to integrate artificial intelligence on a mission. The AI program, codenamed U-2, was developed by the U-2 Federal Laboratory. In the 2023 Chinese balloon incident, the U.S. Air Force used U-2 aircraft to monitor a Chinese balloon that crossed the United States and Canada. U-2 flights confirmed the balloon's surveillance package was outfitted with multiple antennas capable of conducting signals intelligence collection operations and that the craft had large solar panels to power them. United Kingdom, edit. Bissell suggested bringing the British into the program to increase the number of overflights. Prime Minister Harold Macmillan agreed with the plan, and 4 RAF officers were sent to Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas for training in May 1958. On the 8th of July, the senior British pilot, squadron leader Christopher H. Walker, was killed when his U-2 malfunctioned and crashed near Wayside, Texas. This was the first death involving the U-2, and the circumstances were not disclosed for over 50 years. Another pilot was quickly selected and sent to replace Walker. After training, the group of RAF U-2 pilots arrived in Turkey in November 1958, shortly after the CIA's Detachment B from Adana provided valuable intelligence during the 1958 Lebanon crisis with both the United States and United Kingdom involvement. Since the September 1956 disclosure of Mediterranean photographs, the United Kingdom had received U-2 intelligence, except during the Suez Crisis. The CIA and Eisenhower viewed using British pilots as a way of increasing plausible deniability for the flights. The CIA also saw British participation as a way of obtaining additional Soviet overflights that the President would not authorize. The United Kingdom gained the ability to target flights toward areas of the world the United States was less interested in, and possibly avoid another Suez-like interruption of U-2 photographs. Although the RAF unit operated as part of Detachment B, the UK formally received title to the U-2s their pilots would fly, and Eisenhower wrote to Macmillan that because of the separate lines of authority, the nations were conducting two complementary programs rather than a joint one. A secret Mi-6 bank account paid the RAF pilots, whose cover was employment with the Meteorological Office. While most British flights occurred over the Middle East during the 2 years the UK program existed, 2 missions over Soviet sites were very successful. The first targeted 2 missile test ranges, 3 nuclear complexes, and a large segment of railway in one of the test range areas. Operational ballistic missile sites were considered most likely close to railways, but none were found. A second flight had as its main target the long-range bomber airfield at Saratov/Engels. The number of Bison long-range aircraft counted on the airfield settled the bomber gap controversy. Other targets were a missile test center and aircraft engine and missile production plants. A new bomber with 2 engines at the base of the fin, the Tupolev Tu-22, was discovered at one of the aircraft plants. Like Eisenhower, Macmillan personally approved the Soviet overflights. The British direct involvement in overflights ended after the May 1960 U-2 downing incident, although 4 pilots remained stationed in California until 1974. The CIA's official history of the program stated that RAF pilots never again conducted another overflight in an agency U-2. In 1960 and 1961 the first 4 pilots received the Air Force Cross, but their U-2 experience remained secret. Taiwan, edit. Main article, Black Cat Squadron. Beginning in the 1950s, Taiwan's Republic of China Air Force, RCAF, used the RB-57D aircraft for reconnaissance missions over the People's Republic of China, PRC, but suffered 2 losses when MiG-17S and Sa-2 surface-to-air missiles intercepted and downed the aircraft. Taiwanese and American authorities reached an agreement in 1958 to create the 35th Squadron, nicknamed the Black Cat Squadron, composed of 2 U-2Cs in Taoyuan Air Base in northern Taiwan, at an isolated part of the air base. To create misdirection typical of the time, the unit was created under the cover of high-altitude weather research missions for RCAF. To the U.S. government, the 35th Squadron and any U.S. CIA/USAF personnel assigned to the unit were known as Detachment H on all documents. But instead of being under normal USAF control, the project was known as Project Razor, and was run directly by the CIA with USAF assistance. Each of the 35th Squadron's operational missions had to be approved by both the US and the ROC presidents beforehand. A further layer of security and secrecy was enforced by all U.S. military and CIA/government personnel stationed in Dalian assigned to Detachment H, having been issued official documents and IDs with false names and cover titles as Lockheed employees/representatives in civilian clothes. The RCAF personnel would never know their U.S. counterparts' real names and rank/titles, or which U.S. government agencies they were dealing with. A total of 26 of 28 ROC pilots sent to the U.S. completed training between 1959 and 1973, at Laughlin Air Force Base, Texas. On the 3rd of August, 1959, a U-2 on a training mission out of Laughlin AFB, piloted by RCAF Major Mike Hua, made a successful unassisted nighttime emergency landing at Cortez, Colorado, that became known as the Miracle at Cortez. Major Hua was awarded the USAF Distinguished Flying Cross for saving the aircraft. In January 1961, the CIA provided the ROC with its first two U-2CS, and in April the squadron flew its first mission over mainland China. In the wake of the Gary Powers incident, the Taiwanese program of China overflights was redesignated TACL, a subset of the new Idealist program. Other countries were occasionally overflown by the 35th Squadron, including North Korea, North Vietnam and Laos. However, the main objective of the 35th Squadron was to conduct reconnaissance missions assessing the PRC's nuclear capabilities. For this purpose, the ROC pilots flew as far as Gansu and other remote regions in northwest China. Some missions, to satisfy mission requirements including range, and to add some element of surprise, had the 35th Squadron's U-2s flying from or recovered at other U.S. air bases in Southeast Asia and Eastern Asia, such as Kunsan Air Base in South Korea, or Takli in Thailand. All U.S. air bases in the region were listed as emergency forward/alternate recovery airfields and could be used besides the 35th Squadron's home base at Dalian Air Base in Taiwan. Initially, all film taken by the Black Cat Squadron would be flown to Okinawa or Guam for processing and development, and the U.S. forces would not share any mission photos with ROC. In the late 1960s, the USAF agreed to share complete sets of mission photos and help set up a photo development and interpretation unit at Dalian. In 1968, the ROC U-2C/F/G fleet was replaced with the newer U-2R. However, with the overwhelming threats from Sa-2 missiles and MiG-21 interceptors, along with the rapprochement between the US and the PRC, the ROC U-2S stopped entering Chinese airspace, only conducting electronic intelligence gathering and photo reconnaissance missions using new long-range oblique reconnaissance (LOROC) cameras on the U-2R from above international waters. The last U-2 mission over mainland China took place on the 16th of March, 1968. After that, all missions had the U-2 fly outside a buffer zone at least 20 nautical miles, 37 kilometers, around China. During his visit to China in 1972, U.S. President Richard Nixon promised the Chinese to cease all reconnaissance missions near and over China, though this was also practical as by 1972 U.S. photo satellites could provide better overhead images without risking losing aircraft and pilots, or provoking international incidents. The last 35th Squadron mission was flown by Sung Ku Mike Kyu on the 24th of May, 1974. By the end of the ROC's U-2 operations, a total of 19 U-2C/F/G/R aircraft had been operated by the 35th Squadron from 1959 to 1974. The squadron flew some 220 missions, with about half over mainland China, resulting in 5 aircraft shot down, with 3 fatalities and 2 pilots captured. 1 aircraft lost while performing an operational mission off the Chinese coast, with the pilot killed, and another 7 aircraft lost in training with 6 pilots killed. On the 29th of July 1974, the 2 remaining U-2 aircraft in ROC possession were flown from Taoyuan Air Base in Taiwan to Edwards AFB, California, U.S., and turned over to the USAF. Variants, edit. Primary list, edit. Subsection source, aerospaceorg.org. U-2. Initial production, single seat, Pratt & Whitney J57P37 engine, 48 built. U-2B. Proposed missile warning patrol aircraft, not built. U-2C. Enhanced single-seat model with Pratt & Whitney J75P13 engine and modified engine intakes. U-2D. 2-seat used for various IR detection programs, not a trainer aircraft. U-2CT. Enhanced 2-seat trainer. U-2E. Aerial refueling capable, J57 powered. U-2F. Aerial refueling capable, J75 powered. U-2G. C models modified with reinforced landing gear, added arresting hook, and lift dump spoilers on the wings for U.S. Navy carrier operations, 3 converted. U-2H. Aircraft carrier capable, aerial refueling capable. U-2R. Redesigned airframes enlarged nearly 30% with underwing pods and increased fuel capacity, 14 built. U-2RT. Enhanced 2-seat R model trainer, 1 built. U-2EPX. Proposed U.S. Navy maritime surveillance R model, 2 built. TR-10. A 3rd production batch of U-2R aircraft built for high-altitude tactical reconnaissance missions with side-looking radar, new avionics, and improved DCM equipment, 33 built. Redesignated U-2S after the fall of the Soviet Union. TR-1B. 2 TR-1 airframes completed as 2-seat conversion trainers. TU-2S. New redesignated TR-1B 2-seat trainer with improved engine, 5 converted. U-2. 2 TR-1 airframes, AFSA. Number 80 to 1063, ANSA. Number 80 to 1097, modified as Earth Resources Research Aircraft, moved from USAF to NASA and operated by the NASA High Altitude Missions Branch, Ames Research Center. NASA flies SR. Number 80 to 1097 as their 809 ANSA. Number 80 to 1063 as their 806 NA. U-2S. Redesignation of the TR-1 and U-2R aircraft with updated General Electric F118 engine, improved sensors, and addition of a GPS receiver, 31 converted. U-2. Atmospheric /weather research WU model. U-2E/F/H details, edit. In May 1961, in an attempt to extend the U-2's already considerable range, Lockheed modified 6 CIA U-2s and several USAF U-2s with aerial refueling equipment, which allowed the aircraft to receive fuel from either the KC-97 or from the KC-135. This extended the aircraft's range from approximately 4,000 to 8,000 nautical miles, 7,400 to 15,000 kilometers, and extended its endurance to more than 14 hours. The J57-powered U-2BS were redesignated U-2E and the J75-powered U-2CS were redesignated U-2F. Each modified U-2 also included an additional oxygen cylinder. However, pilot fatigue was not considered, and little use was made of the refueling capability. The only U-2H was both air refueling capable and carrier capable. U-2R/S details, edit. The U-2R, first flown in 1967, is significantly larger and more capable than the original aircraft. A tactical reconnaissance version, the TR-10, first flew in August 1981. A distinguishing feature of these aircraft is the addition of a large instrumentation superpod under each wing. Designed for standoff tactical reconnaissance in Europe, the TR-10 was structurally identical to the U-2R. The 17th Reconnaissance Wing, RAF Alconbury, England used operational TR-10s from 1983 until 1991. The last U-2 and TR-1 aircraft were delivered to USAF in October 1989. In 1992 all TR-1s were redesignated to U-2R for uniformity across the fleet. The two-seat trainer variant of the TR-1, the TR-1B, was redesignated as the TU-2R. After upgrading with the GEF 118-101 engine, the former U-2RS were designated the U-2S senior year. U-2 details, edit. A derivative of the U-2 known as the U-2, Earth Resources 2, in NASA's white livery, is based at the Dredon Flight Research Center, now Armstrong Flight Research Center, and is used for high-altitude civilian research including Earth resources, celestial observations, atmospheric chemistry and dynamics, and oceanic processes. Programs using the aircraft include the Airborne Science Program, EARIST and Earth Science Enterprise. Landings are assisted by another pilot at speeds exceeding 120 miles per hour, 190 kilometers per hour, in a chase car. Operators, edit. United States. United States Air Force. Strategic Air Command. 9th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing, Beale Air Force Base, California 1976-1992. 1st Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron 1990-1992. 5th Strategic Reconnaissance Training Squadron 1986-1992. 95th Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron 1991-1992, RAF Alconbury, UK. 99th Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron 1976-1992. 4029th Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron 1981-1986. 9 SRW Detachment 2, Asan Air Base, South Korea 1976-1992. 9 SRW Detachment 3, RAF Akrotiri, Cyprus 1970-1992. 9 SRW Detachment 4, RAF Mildenhall, UK 1976-1982. 9 SRW Detachment 5, Patrick AFB, FL 1976-1992. 17th Reconnaissance Wing, RAF Alconbury, UK 1982-1991. 95th Reconnaissance Squadron. 100th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing, Davis Monthan Air Force Base, Arizona 1966-1976. 99th Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron 1972-1976, Utapao Air Base, Thailand. 349th Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron 1966-1976. 1700th Reconnaissance Wing, Provisional, Al Taif Air Base, Saudi Arabia 1990-1992. 1740th Reconnaissance Squadron. 4080th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing, Northland Air Force Base, Texas 1957-1966. 4028th Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron. Air Combat Command. 9th Reconnaissance Wing, Beale Air Force Base, California 1992 present. 1st Reconnaissance Squadron 1992 present. 5th Reconnaissance Squadron 1994 present, Asan Air Base, South Korea. 95th Reconnaissance Squadron 1992-1993. 99th Reconnaissance Squadron 1992 present. Detachment 2, Asan AB, South Korea 1992-1994. Detachment 3, RAF Akrotiri, Cyprus 1992 present.